It's been a good year for European tourism all round, with total visitor spending up around 10%. And China was a big part of that upward trend. The number of Chinese tourists visiting Europe this year surged 21% on the previous year, with younger travellers leading the way. And new technology has been changing the way that people travel, with more tourists turning to AI to help plan their trips. China has the highest usage at 40%. Well, Paul Charles is Chief Executive at travel consultancy, the PC Agency. Good to see you again, Paul. Welcome back to the programme.
Hello.
So Europe's tourism sector doing well, despite the cost of living crisis in many countries. Why is it doing so well?
Yes, it does seem remarkable, doesn't it, that it continues to power ahead. But essentially, travel and tourism is still very much at the top of the priority list of many generations, not just young people, but older generations as well, who are making sure that they want to spend on something that makes them happy. So the travel and tourism sector has definitely benefited. It's proving resilient, especially the cruise part of the sector, with more people taking cruises. And the TUI results today also demonstrate that as well.
So part of the upsurge in visitors are from people from a long way from Europe, from long-haul destinations, including China. What's driving demand from there?
I think the Chinese economy is certainly proving resilient, and that is helping those to make a choice, Chinese citizens to make a choice to seek a flight to quality. And the European tourism market is seen as high quality. It has heritage, it has great architecture, it has terrific museums. If you think about what Europe offers, whether it's in France, Germany, the UK, Spain, these are markets which are very, very resilient to Chinese tourists because they go back so far. They have many centuries of heritage. And the Chinese traveller likes to see that. They like to experience that. It's not always theme parks, but museums which are much older, attracting them to that market. And so Europe as well, with its diverse food scene, is attracting many more tourists from China again.
So we mentioned TUI there with its best ever results, but a suggestion from them of slower sales growth. What do you think that says about the travel industry? Are we facing possibly a slight slowdown in the coming months?
Well, the resilience remains, but undoubtedly there's some fragility. And I think TUI are essentially saying here what the whole industry is thinking, that it's doing well, that forward bookings are looking pretty good, but they don't want to run away with that optimism. And the same applies to many airlines, as well as major hotel chains. What they're saying essentially is that things are looking okay, but they don't want to predict that success too early. There's no doubt the industry has changed in terms of last-minute booking. More and more people are choosing to book within 2 or 3 weeks before they travel or before they want to stay in a hotel. And that's a far cry from how things used to be 3 or 4 years ago, when it would be 3 or 4 months before they're due to travel. So the market is getting shorter in terms of that booking timeline. And TUI, I think, with their comments today, although still very positive, are reflecting that change in how we book.
So Europe doing well then, and we're going to talk more about this in a minute, so I don't want to go into enormous detail, but fewer people travelling to the US. Why is that?
I think what you're seeing, especially over the last 6 months with the USA, is more markets which are thinking, well, should we go somewhere else? Canada is a good example of that because of the trade war, of course, with the USA. Canadians are voting with their feet and saying, well, we'll look to travel to Europe or we'll go to Latin or South America instead of the USA. And so the USA is starting to see some of its larger markets tail off a little bit. Now, that's obviously for geopolitical reasons, it's for trade tensions, but also because consumers these days want to try new markets. And so if they've been to the USA before, they want to try out new and emerging destinations, perhaps in Latin America, like Guatemala, or in South America, like Brazil or Argentina, or indeed travel more into Europe, which the Americans themselves do, of course, outbound. So America is suffering as a result of those tensions, those political tensions, and there's no sign of that changing at this stage.
Paul, great to talk to you. Thanks so much for coming on the programme. That's Paul Charles from the PC Agency.